Oh, you should all stop listening to us. We have nothing important to say. Because we have nothing important to say, we're going to have Jung talk for us. Jung.
Yeah, Jung, whatever, yeah.
Doesn't matter. It's a J-U-N-G.
J-U-N-G. The Undiscovered Self is the book that we're in. We've gone several.
So
we encourage you to listen to it.
6.
Yeah, listen to it. I mean, you can listen to any of them out of order, but it helps because we're going through the book in the same format. I want to get into...
These fucking hot lamps like blind me every time I look at them. Like I'm staring at the sun.
Oh, well, it's probably because of the way it's
People just think it's
on.
well lit in here. And it's like, no, we have just like
we have
studio lights everywhere.
We have it set up in a... So let's talk about religion. The title of this chapter is Religion as the Counterbalance to Mass Mindedness.
I'm not talking about religion.
Why? I want to get into this.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. You can hit me with some philosophical.
yeah, we're going to do this philosophical. We're going to hit it right off the bat. We have coffee with Holden. And you have your
I get
special
I get
pottery.
the Celestial Vortex mug.
Mm-hmm. So...
With my thumb holder.
Whenever we look at humans in general, and I heard a great quote yesterday, and I'm going to butcher it, but they said, basically when you look at someone, it's just you, because of everything is all one. So all is one. So when I'm looking at somebody else, if I'm getting disgusted at them, I'm actually getting disgusted at me.
Well, why are you getting disgusted? Because that's your thought associated with that mental perspective of that person. That's you.
But you're you, me, and I'm you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
if we believe in reincarnation, then it gets even more muddled.
Now consider this. What if the person's suffering? They're disgusting. They're like pissing all over themselves, right? And you're just like, ugh, gross. Have you considered helping them?
Yeah.
What if they're completely helpless? Like not by choice, but you're disgusted.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem. That's a problem on your side.
Yeah, because probably in one of your previous lives, you were pissing all over yourself.
Yeah, no.
The chances are
probably 100%.
Yeah.
I'll give an example of this. I want to give an example. It's like a function of like responsibility. I walk around and I see trash around the apartment complex where we live. And I'm like, the apartment complex needs to clean this up. They need to clean it up. And then I get totally faced with reality. I'm like, what am I talking about? I'm walking around disgusted by the trash everywhere. And I'm saying it's somebody else's responsibility because,
it's not your trash.
It's because it's not my trash and I don't own the place. And I thought to myself, why am I having this thought? And why am I complaining, saying that somebody else should do it? It would take me a moment to pick this up and throw it away. But I'm passing off. I'm disgusted at the fact. And then I realized it's me. I'm really disgusted with the fact that I'm passing off the responsibility. I'm disgusted with the fact that I'm letting it bother me because I'm not doing anything about it. I was walking by complaining, doing absolute jack. So what did I do? Ordered the guns that pick stuff up. Yeah, and I got a bunch of giant trash bags. Now I'm spending my weekends picking up trash. I told myself, I was like, this is I'm so hypocritical.
Yeah, I go to the park every day, and there's several ladies that do that. At our park up here.
Did anyone ask them to do that? No.
They
just saw a problem. They went out and fixed it. I usually do this with a lot of things, and I don't know why, though, trash is so inhibitive for me, and I would complain about it. Now I'm realized, if I have the stuff to clean up, just go do it.
Mm-hmm.
For me to say, I don't have the time to go pick it up, it's not my responsibility, it's crap.
How many of those people that are out there that are just selflessly serving
so many and
humanity, and that's what...
And honestly, I'm caught on the wheel, but shout out to them.
Yeah, no. So, but I mean, where I was getting at with this is it's innate. It's in each of us, all of humans, for this desire for religion. Like it comes almost like preloaded in our software.
Preloaded for a higher calling?
Yeah. Or
not even a higher calling
or we want to, and we've used the word multiple times, but we want to believe in something that's greater than us. We want to, and we call it God.
I think it's...
and Paul Chek he said this, that he goes, why do we always refer to God as he? A male can never give birth.
You and I talked about this. Yeah.
It's like a she, yeah.
So it's not to believe in something higher. I think it's the fact that we want to know that there's an achievement that can be made, that there's some sort of pinnacle for us to go to. Because if there wasn't, consider this. I'm walking around in my life And I'm like, well, what's the end goal here? What is the end goal? So for some people, it's to get into heaven, right? But they don't realize that heaven is, a state of mind. So when you consider that, it's not like the religion is the thing that we're genetically called to. It's evolving to a point of relative absolute perfection. Why do you think you look at God? Because you say that's perfect. That's what people think, right? This idea of perfection. I want to do what I can to be a part of that, to be with that, to go to heaven, to hang out with it. It's not really the act of God. It's a function of evolving to this zeal, this point, the very top of the mountain. That's where I want to go. And we all want to go there. Mountaineers are people that just do it very physically, right? But when you think about it, that's where I want to go in my thoughts. I want to evolve. It's a point of evolution. It's that push towards that thing. You perceive it as above.
But I mean, no matter what culture, no matter where it's at in the world, you get a group of people together and they create a religion.
Yeah, they do a lot of the time.
Completely separate from each other.
Yeah.
You don't see.
I get where you're going.
You don't see an atheist group of people just automatically happening that way.
I get where you're going.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, people naturally tend to certain dogmas, but within these religions, because they're looking for security, they're looking for understanding, and if you can simply find it through some sort of group idea that this is what we're looking to achieve, and I can join this group and I can find, they can tell me what that path is. Well, then in your mind, you think it's a very simple thing I can do. I'm going to follow these very black and white rules, and I'm going to end up here with the rest of this group. But that's how that drives people off to be like, but my God's better than yours. Our black and white rules will get us there faster. Our God will shower more goods on us more quickly. That's where that happens. People do come together and they fall into this part of religion because responsibility drops off. Self-thought drops off. It's almost like, I don't have to think. I really don't have to push myself. I don't have to evolve on my own. I can evolve with this other group of people. But it's all about your own self-evolution. And when you talk about, this is a contending point I do have with Jung throughout this book. He talks about religion as like the solve to the mass idea. Because, having faith in something is what will allow you to almost create that sort of awareness within the self, but actually it drives away that responsibility. It's actually lost in that religious idea. It's not about your evolution. It's what God defines for that evolution for you, or the church and the people underneath. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I understand that people...
he critiques himself multiple times because he calls religion irrational. He also says, that it's a lot of it is just an experience that people have. So, he's critical of religion too.
You're on such a good point though. And this is why I'm harping on it. Why is it that people just tend to these groups? You're exactly correct. Why is it they just get sucked into a religion or some sort of ideology?
But it's everywhere.
Or social following.
I mean, you can go all the way from the Eskimos all the way to the tropical jungles. And you can go from since the beginning of time when we had consciousness, when we moved to the beginning of third density, and when humans get together, they start worshiping something.
And I think that's just so strange. And I'm not sure if it's genetic or it's almost like the same sort of dopamine hit you get with social media.
I think they're using creation to try to explain meaning.
Well, they are, but I think...
And so they put it into...
bridge beyond, though.
Yeah.
When you should leave the religion as a myth, as an idea of explaining creation.
Yes, yeah.
It's a very primitive way of understanding creation, the universe, and natural law is religion. But you need to keep it as a myth and not say that is the absolute fact.
Right. Yeah, that dogmatic fundamentalism.
Because when you make it a fundamental thing and you lose the mythical idea, and we talked about why we need myth. We did 2 episodes on this. But I think people love the idea of the story, the simplicity, the understanding of it, helping them grasp this world. But in that idea of grasping, it's like when you go to college, if you've been lucky enough to, I wouldn't even call it lucky. If you do go to college, professors have ideas. So you're doing this thinking, right? You have a myth. Each one has its own way of telling you or explaining a subject. But then you'll feel the professor come in and be like, this is really how you should be doing it. And that's where the dogma steps in.
Because you didn't you follow my book I wrote?
This is precisely correct, right? And that same sort of function happens in higher education as what you find in religion. And I don't think I don't think it's so much a matter of, it being like a genetic thing or what have you. I think that when the people come into collective groups, they start to tip away their power to some individual. And then as that ego begins to step in, that's when things turn dogmatic. That's when they become fundamental. And it lost the original explanatory meaning of essentially whatever this myth was to understand creation or the reason for your life. And we've carried it off into, this is just how life is. So the theory has now become some sort of fundamental, idea of truth. And that people are like, we got to just hook onto it. And then you're so deep ingrained down the line, you're like, I can't get out of this. This is tough.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson talks about like the Book of Revelation, let's say, for instance, and a lot of people take that literal.
Who's Jordan Peterson? So people know.
Yeah, he's a Canadian. He's took a lot of heat with some of his stances and stuff like that. He's wrote several New York Times bestsellers, and he just came out with a new book. But he was talking about this he does a lot of biblical interpretation and stuff like that. But
a professor of psychology, University of Toronto.
Yeah. But what he was talking about, he goes, when people take things literal, like Revelation, and he believes John, which was one of the apostles that on the island of Patmos that wrote this Book of Revelation,
Look
was probably on some
go.
was probably on. Oh, I know the Bible. Was probably on some psychedelics, because if you read that, if you read it's full of allegory.
Yeah, him and Moses.
So you have this God throughout the Bible, especially in the New Testament, who's extremely loving. And then you turn around and now in Revelation, you have this God that's judging mankind, and bringing wrath. I mean, the whole book is about, and so now we've built, whether you're, especially with Christianity, we've built these, and if you look, majority of people, which Christianity is probably number 2, I would imagine Islam's number 1.
Islam is number 1.
So Christianity is number 2 in the world. And you have a ton of people that have took the Book of Revelation and now are waiting for the Messiah to come. The Jews still, they have the Old Testament, so they still feel like the Messiah is going to come. They don't believe Jesus was the Messiah. They think another Messiah is coming. But, which, according to the Bible, Moses will come back, reincarnate, and
he probably will reincarnate, but as like a dude packing boxes at Amazon.
Yeah, we don't know.
You know what I mean?
You have no idea. But the whole idea of what he was talking about
is Genghis Khan.
Yeah, Genghis Khan.
Shipping clerk.
The shipping clerk. Yeah, Rod talks about that. The whole idea of the Book of Revelation is this allegory to kind of bring this positive and negative, and how I view it is this positive and negative polarity of understanding that there is judgment, and we talked about this yesterday, but that there is judgment in things. There is cause and effect in things that you do. So if I'm looking at it as a myth, and I'm reading this last book in the Bible, and so I'm saying it, okay, let me interpret this in the way that I can use it for one, because here's the problem that I'm seeing, and I've talked to you about this. Whether I'm reading the Bible or the Quran or whatever I'm reading, I'm automatically judging it. One, I have to be careful, because one, I could judge the whole thing with my ego. Mm-hmm. I could sit there and say, well, I'm enlightened. This Bible's bullshit.
Correct.
And so now I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm reading to find a problem.
Yeah, reading for errors.
Yeah, reading for errors, which is not because it's considered a sacred text. It's not what it's intended for.
No.
Whether you're reading any of these, you should be able to, it's like Rumi said, if somebody comes in and steals all your furniture out of your house, what should happen? He goes, everybody would usually be pissed off or whatever. He goes, it just gives you an opportunity for more. So whenever we look at, so this is our view, because this is what I'm getting back to. This is our view of, like you said, with the trash. Mm-hmm. I can blame others, get pissed off at, and take no responsibility for myself. I can be a professor. I don't know, I'm not saying anything bad against Jordan Peterson, but I can be a professor in Ontario and rip up the Bible completely, which he doesn't do, but I'm just saying. And then I could turn around and write a book on how bad Christianity is and rip into Christianity. But you've missed the whole point of religion whenever you look at it in the sense of how beautiful the tapestry is on that red thread that runs through it.
Sure.
Because spiritual texts, whether we're reading the Law of One, whether we're reading the Bible,
Bhagavad Gita, anything.
Bhagavad Gita, any of them, they're there for your, they're there there's a reason that we have books. Like, this is spiritual to me.
It's a story. It's a myth.
Yes.
You pick up a book because there's something to be learned.
It's a person's thought.
That's what it is.
It's thoughts brought into words.
The book only becomes a function of control when you let it control you, rather than just read and observe it for what it is.
Or fight it.
Or fight it. Just let it. If someone's writing dog shit like Mein Kampf,
right?
Okay, and then it becomes a giant Nazi regime after the fact. Well, I mean, he wrote it. Whatever.
But I guarantee you, I was watching a thing the other day. It was like the United States didn't want to mess with Germany because of the medical advances they were doing. So over and over and over again, FDR was like, well, we don't want. They had spies and stuff like that, and they had spies to say, how can we grab technology?
Sure.
So they're like, I don't want to. So it wasn't until Hitler got crazy is when the United States stepped in. But it was like, oh, really? We can. I mean, the Nazis invented crystal meth.
Yeah, I know. They gave it to their soldiers.
Why do you think, guys?
Why do you think the SS guys would be out there and they'd just be like, you could shoot them like 20 times and still be going?
So the United States was like, should we? They had projects where they were looking at giving crystal meth to, and they were going to put it in the coffee.
I think I have crystal meth in my coffee.
It's just your body, the way it reacts to caffeine. It's just a molecule.
I know. That's all it is.
But whenever you look at any of these isms or religion or books or anything, what I'm afraid and what I don't want us to do, especially here at Higher Density Living and those that are learn, teach, learn, is that we become dogmatic in our own way because we become anti everything.
No,
it's like, oh, that's bullshit. Oh, that's bullshit. Oh, that's bull. You know what I mean?
No, we look
I
at
have a
there's
tendency
truth
to go
in
that
it.
way.
There's truth in it, though.
Right.
100%. You and I both realize that. If I pick up the Bible, 30% of it may have creational laws in it that are legit.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be filled with 60% bullshit. Well, let the 60% of the bullshit just be a myth and just be like, great, I'm glad you wrote that.
Well, it's a story.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you understand it, so Jonah in the well, let's use that example. That's a myth. No one's going to live in the belly of the well.
Beast.
Yeah. But there's so much to that story. If you look at it as a myth, it's like, yeah, you had a true purpose in life, a calling.
Yeah.
You ran away from it, hid in the bottom of a ship. Now you have cause and effect that works.
Mm-hmm.
So now a storm comes up, they throw you overboard, and then a whale eats you. Well, you can compare, if you really want to, there's so many
metaphors
I could use for that in my personal life.
Should we call it higher density metaphors?
Well, the metaphors, that's what I'm getting. The myths and the metaphors create for us to understand living. And I think religions were created so that people could have understanding in their cultural assimilation. Like Nordic, we've talked about that. Like Nordic gods, they're so beautiful. You know what I mean?
Religion, you're correct. I think that religion helps with bringing people together to help them begin to see a common ground of what it means to be a human being evolving in this universe.
Because it doesn't have to be religion; it could be Nazism.
Yeah, it could be anything,
which is not a religion.
It could be capitalism,
right?
Yeah, and I think that it brings people together, and then after they've been brought together, the second someone tries to use it as a control mechanism, the second it becomes dogmatic, we have a problem. It's let it do its first steps of bringing camaraderie, sharing stories, understanding the myth, how we look at creation. Some stories work better for others than it does for, like that. You understand the Bible and its story much better than I would receive it. You interpret it a different way. So that's, there's a lot of different interpretations. But
isn't that allowed?
Of course it's allowed.
It should be interpreted based upon what.
But you have a problem when a priest comes in and he tells you this is how you should read it.
It's centralized.
This is when it falls apart. This is when it becomes a problem. This is when Christianity has more bloodshed than any other religion in the world. You had this idea of, unity and bring people together, but then you thought you were the best. And then the church is telling you who's the best, and then you got to go fight for the church, right? People with the ego, centralized systems, control, all these other things, and when, money gets involved in religion, the stuff it destroys itself. Myth doesn't give a shit about money. People do.
That's so true.
Religion doesn't give a shit about money. People do.
Yeah, and he says this, in order to free the fiction of the sovereign state. I love he uses the word fiction.
Yeah, because if you look at a sovereign state, it's a joke. It's like, how you and I talk about borders?
Yeah.
They shouldn't exist. It's just some weird idea.
Yeah,
that we
see
have.
that new book on the top to the far right? It has a red.
Prisoners of Geography.
Yeah, I just got that one, and it's talking about the bullshit of borders.
Yeah.
In order to free the fiction of the sovereign state, in other words, the whims of those who manipulate it, from every wholesome restriction, all social political movements, and we could put religion in there, tending in this direction, invariably try to cut the ground from under the religions. For in order to turn the individual into a function of the state, his dependence on anything besides the state must be taken from him. So this is where you're saying that he's creating a dichotomy. But I get it. If you keep the theory of mass unity, like cultural mass unity, and then now you have a dichotomy, and that is religion and the state. And so now they're fighting each other.
Well, one wants more control.
Well, they both want control, yeah.
Yeah, I know, but then, the state's getting more control, and then religion's like, I know the state's telling you one thing, but you got to have more faith. You got to have more faith.
Look at Spain and the Catholic Church.
I know.
And go through the history of that.
Inquisition. I was over here on the other side of Sandia, down at this, for goodness sakes, I don't know. It's these ruins over here, this old mission ruins. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. The color of the clay and everything. But the Spanish Inquisition happened right over here. I'm literally 35 minutes from where the Spanish Inquisition happened. That blows my mind. Where the church came in and started defining people and their quality and them going off to say, we don't want to follow this, and they'll kill you for it? Yeah, that's when religion spirals out.
How many Native Americans here in the United States were killed because of their religion?
So many. We drove them off of their land. It's nuts. Why couldn't the Europeans come in and say, can we actually share this with you? Why do you got to shoot each other? Why is it that people came over and made others prisoners of geography? Why is that?
But and they had such an old religion too. Because
I'm a fucking Puritan. Because my religion is better than how you look at spirit in everything on this planet.
But they don't understand whether it's Christianity, Islam, or whatever. All religions start with shamanism. If you go down to the base of it.
Yeah, they actually do. Even Zoroastrianism, people that worship fire.
Yeah.
There's a spirit in the fire.
I mean, if you get down to the base of the beginning of that religion, it started with shamanism. And you can see in Native Americans, even up to the 1800s, well, even now, I mean, in their beliefs, it's shamanism.
Yeah.
So, you go down to South America and stuff like that, you either have...
We still have shamans.
We still have shamans. You have the Catholic Church and you have shamans, and they kind of make this mystical Catholicism that they've bred, We go to New Orleans.
Yeah.
And you have that same with the voodoo and stuff like that.
Yeah. Here's this is my rub on religion, is that everybody's got a book. All right?
Oh, yeah.
100%. Everybody's got a book. Everybody's got a rule. And they're always changing those rules. Much like what he's defining here is like when the state has more control, the church has to change its rules. Mm-hmm. You need to have more faith. That just tells me what is being said is not a truthful statement. It logically and functionally cannot be a timeless thing. It can't be law.
Well, it's irrational. I mean, look, and when the scary part is when the state go ahead.
I'm not trying to bash religion. Okay, I just want to make it fundamentally clear. You can read it all you want, but if there are books that have evolved over time and these laws have changed over time, that means it's not a law. That's the obvious fact of it. And if one person says, you can have 1,000 gods, do whatever you want, okay? But if one person says that this is the one God, that right then at that moment, you've left belief, gone into fundamentalism, and said something illogical, because if that was the one God, you couldn't have all these other religions. That fundamentally in itself is unsound. And I'm not bashing religion. Have your religions. Bring people together. Do this. Have your own story of myth and creation.
But as you pray to God, you would pray to Allah. You would pray to Krishna. You would pray to all of them are equal. No one God is better than the other.
No, not
we talked about God
in that sort of sense of mythical characters.
Yeah,
that you're defining that as.
And you may have preference to one because
go ahead.
Ganesh is cool because he's got
he's got a huge elephant head.
What's the one that CERN loves? Shiva. Is it Shiva?
Shiva.
Yeah. With the time warp and all the hands.
It's
cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Right?
Jesus. People have pictures of Jesus on the cross.
Fine. But when you start saying this one's better, and just understand that there are a lot of things that are fundamentally unsound in the statements, and look for those things that are unsound. Appreciate the myth, appreciate the story, appreciate you going on that path with others to try and understand creation. But when it becomes that fundamental line,
Yes.
okay, back away from it. Realize that this is where this needs to stop. If bloodshed is occurring because of your religion, back away from it.
Or separation.
If separation is occurring because of your religion, back away from it. If your religion is separating itself from other religions, back away from it.
Well, even now, you got all these New Age people, and I'm pretty sure we have people listening to this, and they're like, well, in South America, this shaman is the only one really to go to get your ayahuasca experience. Plant medicines, this shaman, if you haven't gone to Solarius, then you haven't gone anywhere.
Do you think...
that's dogmatic. It's fundamentalism. Now you're taking something that's beautiful and turning it into a fucked up religion.
That's correct. Do you think the roots from some sort of plant really care which shaman is delivering it?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it doesn't.
A shaman's just a servant to help you, to bring you, if you're into psychedelics, the whole idea of it, whether you are or aren't, the whole idea is to kind of guide you through the process by singing and drums and make sure you don't freak out. A nurse could they have that. A nurse could administer this. Somebody loving and caring.
Do you think creation cares if you're Christ or the Antichrist? No.
Yeah, no.
No, because it demands balance anyway. So whether you try and be the most evil person in the world, there will be someone that is just someone trying to be the most good person in the world.
You have the Antichrist in you.
Well, yeah. Well,
as much as positive polarity you have in you, you have that negative polarity too.
Yeah, you call it Antichrist. I consider it anti-logos. And if logos is logic, if you're doing something anti-logical, it's anti-creational.
Right.
And if it's anti-creational, it's inhuman because you are a function of creation.
Well, I like the meaning of Antichrist. Look it up. It's really, really cool.
I'm looking it up right now.
It's Christos is the Christ. It's kind of got like I like anything to define polarities. So if it's Christ, Antichrist is really...
Is a person prophesied by the Bible to oppose Christ and substitute himself.
There's a metaphorical view, not a literal one. There's a metaphorical definition, should be.
A great antagonist expected to fill the world with wickedness but to be conquered forever by Christ as his second coming.
But I mean, like we could look at Hitler as kind of like this negative Antichrist. You know what I mean? If you wanted to put like a label on it, like a Christ is there too. Like Jesus came to learn, teach, learn.
Yeah.
And Buddha came to learn, teach, learn. So whenever and then you look at what was let's use a spiritual dictator. I like to use that word. I mean, there's so many of them. What was the hot yoga guy? They just did the documentary on him, and he was like ruthless.
You
know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, know those followers in California.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at that guy. He's a type of Antichrist in a metaphorical view.
But think about the myth. The hero needs to combat some sort of enemy.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about this idea of overcoming. And this is where some of the problems lie. Does the fucking sun try to overcome you every day? Does a tree outside try to overcome you? Does a rock sitting there peacefully on the side of a mountain try to overcome you? Does the mountain scream that I'm the mountain? I'm bigger than you? I'm better? It doesn't. And so when I hear these things like Antichrist or overcoming, these are not functions of reality. They're functions of myth.
Yes,
they're functions.
Of course. Yeah,
they're functions of myth because they lack logic. They lack reason. They're frankly unreasonable. But I understand there's a balance.
But I think it's like a symbol, though.
That's what I'm saying. It's a symbol.
Right.
But symbols can be irrational.
Of course.
Think about again the Nazis. What did they do? They took a very old symbol and used it irrationally.
Yeah.
The only thing rationally that they used was their idea of the peace symbol, which is actually the symbol of death, right?
Which we talked
That's the only thing they got right.
But you look at like Iwo Jima, same thing. You know what I mean? It's the symbol is the United States flag.
The flag on somebody else's land.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's on a hill, right?
Right.
We're conquering
the moon.
These people. The moon. I gotta put a flag here. I gotta stamp my feet down. And if any extraterrestrial Native American shows up, I'm going to give him some sort of smallpox. You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm going at?
No.
And again, I'm really not trying to bash religion. I'm not trying to bash religion. I just let it be the myth it is. Let people look at it and let that myth.
But I kind of take, not an imposing, but I take a different view and a different path because I think it gives meaning to people's lives. And I think it can be positive. Like for me, it can be positive if you understand it as a myth and don't take it dogmatic and literal.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
I mean, like you read the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
You got a lot out of it.
They said in the Bhagavad Gita, it said it's okay to kill people.
Yeah.
Because they never really die. Well, they did have the aspect of reincarnation, correct?
Yeah.
You can't kill the spirit, but you can kill people. And they said, yeah, don't feel bad about it.
Well, the Bible talks about unless they're not Jews or get killed. Islam says that if you're not part of Islam, you're a pig and you should be slaughtered. So, I mean, the list goes on and on. You have that. It's humans.
Yeah, but every time you kill, you're stripping away someone's free will.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, most religions go against free will.
I know.
In their dogmatic sense. And that was just somebody that was writing that, getting carried away. Just as you know, if I write a book, it's going to be screwed up. So if you look at people as writing it, and you look at it as timeless wisdom, I look at it as like timeless wisdom. Like the book of Proverbs is amazing in the Bible. It's all just little proverbs, little
Everybody
wisdom
loves quotes. We love
quotes.
quotes.
It's like, go to the, like one of the proverbs is go to the ant, thou sluggard. So,
sluggard?
Yeah, it calls us, it's King James. So it's saying basically, hey, you fucking lazy bum.
Yeah.
Go look at ants. They're a perfect example of working hard and having unity and putting being selfless.
Now, with that quote, now that you talk about it, who was the sluggard in whose sense? Who's calling the person the sluggard?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So being the ant, it's
Solomon wrote the book, which is supposed to be the wisest.
So is this for Solomon's benefit? So he wants you to be the ant. Is this for his benefit? Solomon's empire? Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a very good statement. But if you're saying you sluggard,
but he's also the one that same guy where he talks about Chronos and Kairos, and there's a season for a time, a time for everything, a time for this, a time to mourn, a time to die. We quote that in funerals.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. We can sit there and go back and forth all day long, but I think it's what Jung is trying to say here. And let me say this: for in order to turn the individual to a function of the state, his dependence on anything besides the state must be taken from him. But religion means dependence on and submission. Here we go. Listen to this. But religion means dependence on and submission to the irrational facts of experience.
Yeah. So here we go.
I think you're having state and religion is the same thing. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm gonna tee you up for a perfect example.
Do it.
Far right elections, 2016.
Okay.
How many times has Donald Trump been married?
Bunch of times.
3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Every time he's cheated on his wife. Oh, it's known. It's scandals out there. Irrational religion. This is where it scares me when we get the state and religion that come together.
That's why.
So the far right says, "Who is our savior?"
Donald Trump.
Now they believe that you should never get divorced.
Donald Trump's the fucking Messiah.
So Christianity, the far right, says that you should never get divorced, that you should only be with one wife. The Bible talks about this.
The far right are supporting him, though.
How irrational did they get in supporting a guy that is completely immoral?
Yeah.
I mean, he's lied and cheated his way. He's narcissistic. He's lied and cheated his way to the top in every business dealing, and he brags about it in his books. Because most people haven't read Donald Trump's books. They should, about closing and manipulating people. He's extremely negative, extremely narcissistic. Has nothing to do with anything of, the only thing he's concerned about is himself purely. That's it. And maybe his family. It seems like he loves his children.
But in a hypocritical sense, they're irrationally looking at him as their savior.
Yes.
Right now.
Yes.
They give him the power. They let all of his mistakes go to the wayside. It's like, just because the church is cutting off heads, but it's okay. I follow it and I've had some good out of it. So maybe they're doing the right thing. If you look at what the Plejaren say, Trump in his entire career of being public has had about 8,600 plus lies that he has told publicly. That's huge. But the people still follow him on the far, far right. These people that are saying, we're anti this idea of divorce, anti this, anti that, but we'll follow Trump. It's completely hypocritical. It's totally irrational.
He is not anything even close to a Christian.
And so then when you look at that, here's what happened. This is why there was a blend. Because if I'm following the church and I'm having to have faith on this irrational example of what's going on and what they say is reality, but then the state is pulling me in another direction, these two things can't oppose one another. Because then people are like, well, fuck it. I don't want to follow either of them, right? And then you can't control them because now they're sitting in the middle and they're like, I'm not going to listen to both of you because you're yanking me two ways. But what happens when the government's like, what happens if we bridge both of these together? Now they only have one focus. Now there is only one Messiah for them to go look at.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the state mixed with Donald Trump.
Or the Pope with the king.
Or that's the Pope with the king.
Yeah.
And because when you combine those, now we don't have to worry about the issues of state pulling me one way and religion pulling me the other. And this is where communism had its problem. We're going to pull you this way, but you can't listen to your religion. So people were like, well, communism sucks. And then the leaders of the communist area come in and they're like, well, we got to kill all you. We're going to starve all you.
Well, it's what's happening now in higher educational learnings. They're just eating each other. You know, when we look at the far left too, so I want to make sure we're balanced here. When we look at the far left and we see this anti-God, anti-religion, it's all you, atheistic, dogmatic, super dogmatic evolutionary process of where I'm smarter than you, I'm more intellectual with you, you're an idiot.
Classic.
So I need the responsibility of controlling you.
My paper was cited more times. I'm the one that heads the department. Just because you read a paper and then a bunch of people cited it.
Or even they feel the right to influence your children.
I know.
Like I have the signet ring. I'm the Alamada. I am. And
just ego everywhere.
And so I need to come in here and indoctrinate these children.
That's what they do. They even say that. You are a you've gotten your doctorate. You've been indoctrinated. Think about it. It's another religious thing. I got the state, I got higher education, and I got church. And then I got some higher educations I go to that may be some sort of ecclesial university. I don't know what the hell the word is, university or whatever it might be, where you do have to go pray once a day or whatever it might be.
But I love it because it just shows the failed of the state. Because let's stick with higher educational because this is really good. So how long have they, since liberals first got in? Let's say it's been 50 years, 60 years. Progressives, liberals started coming into the universities and taking over. You had socialism stuff in the 40s and 50s, I think, coming in there.
Yep.
Communism, a lot of communists in the 70s.
Yeah.
You had Berkeley and all that going on. So whenever you see this is so funny. So we've had a long time, 70 years, 80 years.
Yeah.
The system is super fucked up.
Oh,
How much student debt have you created far left?
Tons.
How many athletes have you? Because people don't want to get into this, but large football teams. How much money? Because the college kids don't get anything. Once again, like the Olympic, like we were talking about the Olympic athletes,
think about all the
shit. But it's on ABC.
All the sponsors.
Oh,
all the airtime.
All the people that are giving to I said Illuminati, but the alumni. All those millions of dollars getting transferred to there.
Donate.
That are professor paying for your. That college team, that football team, wrestling team, baseball team, whatever it is, that's number one in the United States, is raking in hundreds of millions of dollars.
It's making a ton of cash.
And your child is going there playing free football, getting a 4-year piece of paper, and is going to turn around, unless they have a scholarship, is going to owe 70 to 100 grand.
Yeah.
Your system is fucking cool, bro.
That's
your far left system, super cool,
super awesome. You've indebted people. You've
imposed on their free will, and you've indoctrinated them.
Yeah, and you say that when you educate a man, you liberate a man. Well, that's not true.
And you give them concussions.
Yeah, you give them concussions, which correlate to suicidal thoughts. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. Great job, far left.
So you got debt, you got suicidal thoughts, right? And you got a piece of paper that is apparently determining how good you are as a human being.
And gives you really what I was watching a guy that created he helped with Bitcoin and stuff like that. And he started when he was like 16 years old. He's like, okay, I'm multimillionaire now. I don't even know how much Bitcoin I have, but it's like now, and he's in his 20s, but it's like, because of what is it, 60,000 a coin or whatever. And he's got a ton of coins. So he's like, college, I quit college. There was no need.
What's the value? Most people go to college because they want a job, right? They want that job to pay.
But what is the job what are these professors telling them that they should be? Cogs in the system, in their system.
I remember a personal story. I remember I walked into the dean of the business school and I said, your whole college thing for like getting jobs, I forget what the department was called. I told him, I was like, I don't have any interest in that cookie cutter system. I said, it's all well and good that you have a 99% placement rate for employment. I'm not interested in the 99%. I'm interested in the 1%. And so I was like, and this wasn't me like being pretentious. I was like, I don't want to be that cog. I don't want cookie cutter. I don't think like that. That's not for me. I was like, what other opportunities or paths do we have? And I said, who can I talk to? And that's the moment when I really looked at all this and I was like, it doesn't even matter about the piece of paper. I talked to the guy who's running the school and asked him for his network. And that's the thing that made the difference.
But
it had nothing to do with the piece of paper.
But
Zilch.
these liberal so-called professors that are out there. So let's take Wharton School of Business and let's take MIT.
Okay.
Who's coming in and grabbing all those students from both of those? If you have artificial intelligence, and you're top, let's say you're in the 1% top students.
Yeah.
At Wharton, and you've done business, finance business, and you're AI guy at MIT. Take both situations. Who's going to come in there and swoop those people up? Give them a job right off the bat.
Fucking all the biggest firms.
The corporations, Goldman Sachs, they would like both because I'll take the AI guy.
No, they
won't.
Go
my machine learning for purchasing stock. Yeah,
they cherry pick.
So you've literally, here's what you've done. Higher education. You've fed the state. Which is a corporation based. The state is corporation based. Politicians are just puppets to corporations.
Wow, you're on fire today.
But you know what I mean?
No, keep going.
No, you've literally groomed them, set these up, gave them an ideology to allow them to be puppets for these corporations.
That's all it is. You didn't tell them to be free thinkers. Nothing. We want you to get to this level with this degree and pedigree. Okay. And then from that, you can be accepted into these corporations and continue to run their fundamentalist ideas. What's that hedge fund?
What's the difference between that and religion there? Alex?
There's no difference. There's no difference. Who's the guy who runs that hedge fund out of Connecticut?
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Is it Paul?
Something like that.
Yeah. You know,
doesn't matter.
Tudor or something. Tudor.
Listen, it's totally fundamental there. People can't survive there. It's nuts. It's got its own little religion. Nothing has changed. You hop from religion, state to state, control to control, and you never knew who you were. You were just doing what you were told. They said, have faith in the Wharton process, and you'll get into Goldman Sachs. That's like saying, have faith in God, and you'll get into heaven. I don't see any difference. Not in my mind. Not one bit. That's what's going on. Do you know how many times I told us, it's like if you go to class and you do your work and you have faith in this process, you'll get a job. That's all it was. They don't care about anything else. They truly, fundamentally don't care about how you think. If they really cared about how you think, they wouldn't have put me down. The professors wouldn't have fought me every fucking day. They would have been like, interesting how you're against the grain.
But all they're doing is filtering.
It's one giant cash filter. Thanks for the money. You're going to end up in this bucket. Oh, you've done really well. Thanks for the money. You're going to go over here. We'll actually help you get into that job. And
it's the problem that we're facing now with technology and data. It's the same thing. The
same
corporations
thing.
are doing the same thing that they're doing.
The tech companies are a religion. Instagram's a religion for people. Facebook's a religion for people. And then it's used by the state.
Yeah, I was listening to a neuroscientist. This is really interesting. I want people to know this. If you are reaching for your phone, which I tend to do, especially if you're using the restroom or first thing in the morning when you wake up, if you are reaching for the phone, this is your brain, and you have no intention of, you're just grabbing it out of a compulsive reason with not an intention of like, I'm going to listen to a podcast or I'm going to learn something or I'm going to watch this lecture from MIT or whatever. And you just instinctively grab it. That's a compulsive disorder.
Sure.
And so we have this issue now where we see this compulsive disorder. And this neuroscientist is talking about, because he was giving a lecture and he's like 44, 45. And he's from Stanford, one of the top neuroscientists in the nation. And he goes, a 19-year-old boy came to me after the lecture and he said this. He goes, you don't realize. So what the 19-year-old, so religion, Instagram being religion. He goes, you don't realize I'm 19. When my phone gets weak, its battery gets weak, I start freaking out and my energy level goes with the battery.
They have the full attachment.
Because I grew up with a screen from the minute I was born all the way through. My parents gave me a screen to watch. I am completely and 100% attached to my phone.
It's bananas.
And he said the only way your brain could not be compulsive like that is, he said, it would take 100 days of no phone. And he's like, no one can do that. So he goes, we're going to eventually get to the part in our society where and he said phones are great. They offer, we have tons of information, more than we've ever had. But he goes, we're going to get to a point where we're going to have to deal with this compulsive disorder that we all have. I do the first thing. I have it right by my bedside. The first thing I do is when I wake up in the morning.
By their bedside.
Yeah, the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is look at my phone.
I know.
I look at my emails. I look at Slack. I look at Instagram. I look at it. I even know. See, this is addiction because I even know it's like, why the fuck am I opening up Instagram app? It's like, I don't even want to open it up, and I open it up anyways. That's like a drug. That's like a heroin user.
That is a heroin user.
He's like, I need this drug just to be normal.
Too many times I've been in a group, and the second the group setting, people stop talking.
Everybody goes on
They're
their
like,
phones.
I got to go on my phone now. Conversation's done. Attention's over.
I've seen us have really great conversations. Like I've gone to people and had dinners with them, and we're having amazing conversations, and they keep staring at their phone like this. Like, I need to pick it up. I need to pick it up. I need to pick it up.
Even a car.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel I don't like bringing my phone with me. You know what I appreciate about my phone? It weighs a metric ton. It's so heavy.
Yeah, exactly. You got one of those folding ones.
I don't like to carry it around. And it's almost a benefit for me. It's like, I don't want that extra weight. You go there. You stay there.
Well, I take it. So when I like to do 90 minutes of block work because Cal Newport wrote this book called Deep Work, So my brain can handle 90 minutes of really hard work with not being interrupted. I won't be interrupted. So what I do is I cut Slack off and all that stuff, emails off and all that. And then I just have the tabs open of the stuff that I need to work on the marketing side of things. And then I go plug this into my room and shut the doors to my room, both doors to my bedroom.
Yeah.
And I leave my phone plugged up for 90 minutes.
Till I start blowing you up.
Yeah, that way. Well, I can't see. I don't know. Some people have purposely put them in their glove box, even when they're home. They take it and they take it outside and put it in their glove box just to break this cycle. You know what I mean?
It's just amazing.
Because it's like, I'm working on something, look at my phone. Working on something, look at my phone. Working on that interruption. You can't get where you really need to think about something with constant interruptions.
Yeah, no, you just got to remove yourself from it. But that's what the church wants. That's what the state wants. I want you to focus on taxes.
The church Google, you mean?
Yeah, I want you to focus on news cycles. Okay?
Yes. Yeah, we were talking about that
I want
before.
you to focus on new policy. I want you to focus on the crime that's happening in your area. I want you to focus on your job and the effect of the state in your job. I want you to focus on
your sins.
Your sins. I want you to focus on going to church. I want you to focus on your neighbor's wife that you're coveting or whatever the hell tithing, it is, right? Yeah. Tithing. I want you to focus on all these other things except for yourself. I want this to have your attention. And then not for one brief moment of your entire life, whether it's higher education, whatever it is, if you're following any of this stuff, you are not being you. You are not in control. You've given your thoughts to all these other things. And not for one moment do you have the free will to figure out who you are. So you're left asking for more faith. You're left asking the state to do more for you. That's what you're left with. You're left with no responsibility of the self. You're left picking up your phone every 5 seconds because you're attached to it because you haven't had the fundamental thought deep down in your mind that I'm the one in control. I can hear notifications all day and I don't even have to pick that thing up. It does not own me. This is my life. The church does not own me. I am in control of my thoughts. I think for myself. I don't let the phone think for me. I don't let policy think for me. So
how do you, and we'll close out in this because we're way over. We're at almost an hour.
Good for us.
How do we guard ourselves against things that are, whether it's religion, state, social media, whatever it may be, against our free will? How can we begin this process of recognizing it?
Yeah, like how do you recognize that something is really wrong? A lot of people don't even recognize it.
Or other people going against you, yeah.
You know, it's tough. Just for instance, I'll use this podcast. You're sitting here listening to us. That's what you're doing. Did anyone twist your arm to get here? Are you addictively listening to what you and I have to say? Is that what's going on? Is there a compulsion? Or are you really learning for you? Do you feel a differentiation? When you went to go listen to this 50-minute podcast, was it with the intention I'm going to listen to it or just have it as background noise? When you can look at the value of the thought, whatever it might be, before you even consider the idea of free will, right? Because thought leads to action. If it says, was this thought really for me? Was it truly for me? Was it truly to benefit me? This choice to click on that link and be like, that's something I want to learn about today. Was this for me? Or did I click on that link because somebody wrote a book that says you got to listen to podcasts for your own self-improvement? That you got to be on your phone, or you got to be learning something constantly every single moment of the day. Is that why you were doing it? Look at the reason why your thumb went down on the phone. Just use the phone. Use that as a metaphor for your free will. Why am I unlocking it? Why? Instead of just doing it, as you're reaching over in the morning where it's plugged in, just be like, why? Why is this happening? And it may stop you for a brief moment, maybe a quarter second. And it may afford you a moment to think about yourself. Why am I sitting here doing this podcast with you? I'm doing it because I've realized the benefit of self-empowerment. I've realized the benefit of logically looking at the world with rationale in this creational law that is happening around us that we are bound by, and sharing that with others for their own empowerment. That's the why. I'm not doing it because someone told me to sit here and do this. I'm not doing it because I'm addicted to it. I know the value in having my own thoughts. And I'm sharing that value non-dogmatically because I've asked the question why. Why shouldn't I sit here and take the time and the labor to do so? Why shouldn't I go pick up that trash outside? Why am I picking up my phone instead? Why am I passing off that responsibility? And when you start to ask that brief moment, why am I opening up the laptop? Why am I thinking like this? Why am I doing this? Now you're starting to think for yourself. Right. Because you're questioning these habits and behaviors that have been controlling you for so long. You're not addicted to the phone. The disorder is not the phone. What did he call it? What did the guy call it? What was it? The professor?
Oh, the compulsive disorder.
It's not a compulsive disorder. Right. You're compulsively ignoring your thoughts. You compulsively ignore your free will. There's not a compulsion towards the phone. It's the compulsion towards a lack of self-awareness. It has nothing to do with the phone at all. There's no compulsion there. You're putting it in the glove box because you don't have strength in your mind. That's what it is. You have to physically...
But you may, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you may have to do that to get to that point, because if you're undisciplined, it's baby steps.
You're undisciplined in the material.
Right. But I mean, you can't... The
first step's a lie.
You can't have somebody, Alex, turn around and say, okay, yeah, I'm putting my phone in my glove box and I'm doing that for 90 minutes a day and it's going really, really well. But, it's like people trying to quit heroin cold turkey. You know what I mean? Oh, you're weak. You've got a weak mind. They may have to go through a process, an evolutionary process.
No, but I'm saying they're not. Your baby step is ask the question why. Most people are scared to ask the question why.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I agree with you. Yeah.
Why am I picking this up? Why am I doing heroin? Why am I putting it in a glove box?
Why am I drinking every night?
Why am I drinking every night?
Why am I going to church?
Why am I asking myself this question why? Consider that. Why am I a human being? I don't even know what's going on.
Something's going on with our camera. Is it full?
I think the world's upset at us.
We have to end this. We have to be done. Why? And then I say what? What is that pastor, that book, that text that you're looking? What is it? And how is it going against your free will? If that pastor you're listening to when you're sitting in a congregation, listen to what he's saying. Say, what is he saying? And then you can look at it and say, you're a great person. Cool. But what you just said right there goes against my free will. Yeah. I'm not going to pay attention to that. Don't blindly accept things.
Yeah, correct. Don't blindly accept your phone.
So the why, the what, and then I think reading books like this is amazing.
Yeah.
Read more. Everybody needs to read more.
Think about how it got you and I in a conversation.
How many hours of conversation?
Hours of conversation off a little book. That's what it is though. And for us to, you and I know it's the episode's getting long, but for you and I to contend ideas, to toss them back and forth, to not get emotionally riled up and try and figure this out, try and hash it out, try and understand.
Well, I cry afterwards when you leave.
I know. But I think that's the value in this stuff. That's the why you and I do this. Because something will be learned. Because you're an individual and I'm an individual. That's precisely right. And I respect you for every single time you've read that Bible. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 100%. I have a cool one. No, I know you do. And it's goat skin. Yeah, it's goat skin. Yeah. Because it's blessed. Yeah, because it's blessed. Thanks.